For the last 5 weeks, we have been discussing the importance of self-knowledge. For without knowing oneself fully, integrally, not partially, only then is it possible to think rightly and therefore act rightly. Without self-knowledge there cannot be a complete integrated action. There can only be a partial action if there is no self-knowledge. And as partial action invariably leads to conflict and to misery, it is important for those who would really understand the problems of life completely, which is the problem of relationship, not only with one or two, but with the whole, which is society. To understand this whole problem of relationship, we must understand ourselves, and to understand ourselves is action. It's not a withdrawal from action. And there is action only when we understand relationship. Relationship not only with people and ideas, but with things, with nature. So action is a relationship with regard to things, which is property, nature, people and ideas. Without the comprehension of all this process, which we call life, life must be contradictory, painful, and constant conflict. So, to understand this process of life, which is ourselves, we have to understand the whole significance, the process of our own thoughts and feelings. And so we have been discussing the importance of self-knowledge. Perhaps some of us have read few books on psychology, have some smattering knowledge of psychoanalytical phrases. But I'm afraid mere superficial knowledge is not sufficient. Mere verbal expression of an understanding which does not come through mere knowledge, mere study, is not sufficient. What is important is to understand ourselves in relationship, and that relationship is not static, it is constantly in motion. Therefore, to follow that relationship, there must be no fixation of an idea. Most of us are slaves to ideas. We are ideas. We are a bundle of ideas. Our actions are shaped by ideas. And our whole outlook is conditioned by ideas. And ideas shape our action. Therefore, ideas shape our relationship. And that shaping of relationship by an idea prevents the understanding of relationship. To us, idea is very important, very extraordinarily significant. You have your ideas, and others have other ideas, and we are in constant conflict with ideas, political, religious, dogmatic belief, and so on, each in opposition. Ideas invariably create opposition. Because ideas are the outcome of sensation. And as long as our relationship is conditioned by sensation, by idea, then there is no understanding of that relationship. And hence ideas prevent action. Ideas do not further action, they limit action, which we see in everyday life. So is it possible for action to be without idea? Can we act without ideation first? Because we see how ideas divide people, which are beliefs, prejudices, sensations. Political, religious, opinions. These are dividing people and tearing the world to pieces at the present time. Which means the cultivation of the intellect has become a predominant factor. And our intellect guides, shapes our action. And is it possible to act without idea? And we do act without idea when the problem is very intense, very profound, demands all your attention. We may try to conform the act to an idea. But the more we go into the problem, the more we try to understand the problem itself, then we will begin to discard the idea, the prejudice, the particular point of view, and approach it afresh. This is what we do when we have a problem, surely. We try to solve the problem according to particular ideas, or depending on a particular result, and so on. When the problem cannot be solved that way, then we push aside all ideas. Then we give up our ideas and therefore approach the problem afresh with a quiet mind. We do this unconsciously. Surely this is what happens, does it not? When you have a problem, you worry over it. You want a particular result from that problem. Or you translate that problem according to certain ideas. You go through all that process, and yet the problem is not solved. So the mind, becoming weary, stops thinking about the problem. Then it is quiet. Then it is relaxed. Then it is not worried over the problem. And presently, as it often happens, the solution of the problem is immediately perceived. There is a hint to that problem. So the action lies surely in not conforming it to a particular idea. Then it's merely a continuation of thought, not action. And can we not live without conforming action to an idea? Because ideas continue. And if we conform action to an idea, then we give continuity to action. And therefore there is an identification to action as the me and the mind. Therefore there is the strengthening through ideation of the me, which is the source of all conflict and misery. And surely immortality is not an idea. It is surely something beyond ideation, beyond thought, beyond the bundle of memories, which is all the me. And one can experience, and there is the experience of that state only when the ideation stops, when the thinking process stops. And that experience of that state which we call the immortal, that timeless state, is not the product of thought. The thought is merely the continuance of memory, a response to memory. And that experiencing of that extraordinary state can only come into being with the understanding of the self, not trying to reach it, because then merely the projection of thought, which is no longer, which is merely trying to experience something which is self-projected, therefore unreal. And for this reason it is important to understand the whole total process of consciousness which we call the me and the mind, which can be only understood in relationship, not in isolation. That's why it is imperative for those who would really understand truth or reality or God, what you will, to fully grasp the significance of relationship. For that is the only action. And if that relationship is based on idea, then action is not. If I try to conform, limit, circumscribe my relationship to an idea, which most of us do, then it's not action. There is no understanding in relationship. And if we see that as a false process, leading to illusion, to limitation, to conflict, to separate, ideas are always separate, then we'll begin to understand relationship directly and not impose upon relationship a prejudice, a condition. Then we will see that love is not a thought process. You cannot think about love. But most of us do. Then it's merely a sensation.